Coming up on Theater Talk.
Your uncle died, you're feeling low. You got to bury your mama, but you don't know where to go. Your papa needs his final rest. You got to give them the best.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. Where's the program? Since I'm doing the introductions.
Without a teleprompter. Oh, my God. Brace yourselves, boys.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
Now, Michael, we are already here having a wonderful time with the creative team of the new, soon-to-be Broadway hit, Hand to God. It's a wonderful theater experience. And I'm talking to the playwright/bartender, Robert Askins.
I don't bartend at the play.
No.
You bartend at the Booth Theater?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll pick up a shift when I'm short.
Robert.
Which is all the time. I'm 5'8". Hey-o! Watch out, folks.
Morris von Stulpnagel.
Hey, there you go. All right.
You
Director.
really get that right.
Yeah,
Morris
it was close
von
enough.
Stulp.
We're,
Do it for
we're
us.
within the Stulpnagel.
Thank you very much.
There you are.
Stulpnagels.
Yes.
Who's the
And
director of
the
this
director of
play?
this play, and the magnificent star, Stephen Boyer,
It's pronounced von Stackennack.
It's spelled Boyer.
who
But
plays, in essence, two parts in Hand to God.
Come on, kid. I can't. God. Hey. Hey! Do you know how easy it is to find someone's home address on the internet?
What did you just say?
Fun fact number 2, the smallest of cuts, the Achilles tendon, will cripple a man for life.
Rob,
Yeah.
how'd you come up with this?
My mother had a Christian puppet ministry when I was growing up in Cypress, Texas. This play is ripped from the headlines.
It is.
Is she really?
Yeah, man.
Really?
Nothing about this is false.
In Cypress, Texas. And
Yeah,
what was
man.
the point of the Christian puppet?
Share the love of Jesus, man.
So kids would make puppets to sort of get in touch with God?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it's a way to keep kids awake while you're trying to tell them about Jesus.
And you had utter contempt for this whole thing?
Absolutely not.
No, you were a
I was,
serious puppet-
listen, man, as a kid, theatrically inclined, growing up in the church, what could be better? Do you know what I mean? I started off as a choir boy, and then I ended up doing some youth ministry, so I was preaching a little bit, and in between I stopped by puppets.
So, Rob, when did you change? When did you
Break away from the puppet ministry, Rob.
This morning? Well, I don't know. It depends what you mean by change. I still feel like what we do is a religious experience.
Yep.
In
It
theater.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And because it's a very, very funny play and outrageous in some ways, but you have some very serious things to say about religion. And I must say, after I saw it the other night, I went right home and asked the publicist to send me a script because I wanted to reread your epilogue.
Oh, thank you.
Some people read the Bible.
Yeah.
No, your interpretation is awfully good on the history of religion. Yeah,
Are you still
not to-
religious?
very much.
I am. There is no church that says what I believe, so there's no church I go to. So I go to the theater, and I write down what I believe and share it with other people. How about that?
That's a
good.
very, very
That's
good answer. You're getting it very polished here.
Hey, thanks, man.
I'll have a dry martini, please. With a twist.
Yeah, no problem here. Just a second.
That as it happens, this play happens to be about a maladjusted teenager in Texas,
Yeah.
in the puppet workshop.
Are you going to ask me if I'm maladjusted?
I was going to say.
I've
Because
already.
I am.
She's
'cause
got that
fuck it, man.
accusatory finger going right there.
Sorry.
No, so the maladjusted teenager is in the puppet workshop,
Yeah.
and then his sock puppet becomes, so it seems, possessed by the devil.
Yes.
And says the things that you really wanted to say when you were in that puppet workshop as a child.
Sure. Why not? That sounds like a good interpretation. I like it.
I mean, I think he says like a lot of the things we all sort of struggle
Yeah.
to find a voice for when we are teenagers.
But I don't. I
How to like,
also.
you know, yeah, go ahead.
No. I also think it's dangerous to talk about a negative truth as being the truth with a capital T. He says the most aggressive thing possible to polarize the room and to push people around, and sometimes that's true, and sometimes that's just destructive.
Who made the puppet?
Well, Steve made the original prototype.
With an oven mitt, and I'm like, I'm not. 50% of what I have to do in this play, I'm not going to do with an oven mitt.
Yeah.
All right.
You
So
know,
I
it says
wanna-
like kiss the cook. Like I'm gonna have to, I need an actual. I mean, like Tyrone is a fully formed entity.
Yeah,
It's a
great.
real personality. I googled easiest puppet to make. Sock puppet came up, and so I bought a pair of sweat socks and I made a sock puppet, and I used the second sock in the pair to make little arms because he needs
Okay.
to do a lot of.
His arms.
Well, he's
his
an aggressive guy who
arms are
pushes people
fabulous.
around.
Yeah.
literally.
Now,
well,
I
since
want-
all this talk about Tyrone, I do think that our viewers
Thank you.
deserve a little meeting.
meet Tyrone.
He's
yeah.
around.
Well, Tyrone, welcome to Theater Talk.
What is this?
This is called Theater Talk.
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm
I
Michael.
recognize these guys.
Tyrone, I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
Michael Rideout.
Riedel.
How did Rado?
Riedel.
Okay, Michael Ray, and you?
I'm the producer, Susan. I'm
You're a producer. You have money.
no, I'm afraid I don't.
You're my best friend.
No, so now Tyrone, Michael Riedel is known as the Butcher of Broadway. He's the most evil person on Broadway.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's
All right,
right.
all right.
I thought that was me.
Yeah,
No, I got there. I got there before you, my friend. Actually, you know, Tyrone, I'm going away, and I'd like to have you guest write my column while
You're going away. They finally putting you away? What'd they get you on, man? Tax evasion?
crimes against the American theater.
Ah.
But I think you'd be good to guest write my column because you know what you could do? You go around and review the other shows on Broadway.
Yeah, that's cool. I can't really hold a pen.
What do you think about your co-star Stephen Boyer?
I have no opinion. There's a lawsuit? I shouldn't say. That guy has his hand up my ass every day. Every day.
I know, but you got the reviews. He didn't.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I got the bigger dressing room, too. It's nice.
And you get a car and a driver?
Oh, yeah, I get a car. I get dancing girls. I get you know, I'm going to get you guys to, like, serve me canapes backstage. You know, you're gonna be in hot pants just serving me canapes.
Oh, you don't
Did I
want to see
see
that?
Did I see you eating with Helen Mirren at Barson Trolley the other night?
Helen.
I feel I've transmogrified into Helen Mirren.
Yes.
Whereas I was
Helen.
Helen Mirren. You know, now I'm like Helen Mirren, and I'm not quite sure who that sort of thing is.
I got the sense from you, just seeing you act over the years and seeing you, I once saw you collecting your bags at the airport, that somehow you have managed to avoid the superstar thing that can happen that disconnects people from real life.
Yes. I mean, I've lived my life the way I want to live my life. And I have refused to let anything get in the way of that, if you like. So I like going to the supermarket. I would be miserable if I couldn't go to the supermarket. I'd be miserable if I couldn't travel on the subway. So I travel on the subway. And, you know, and people are great. And it's fine. People get themselves into a bit of a tizzy about how horrible it's all going to be. Mind you, I think it's for people who are on TV shows because that it is difficult. But even with them, you know, I was thinking, you know what, just go out and be in the world. I always thought if I was like that famous, I'd have a T-shirt made saying, yes, I am, you know, whoever it is, but please leave me alone. And then, or please let me get on with my life. And then when people come up, we just say,
Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys, oh, your ring of keys.
Ring of Keys from Fun Home. The powerful and really gut-wrenching, in a good way, new musical now at the Circle in the Square.
Got a lot of laughs too, don't forget that.
It does indeed. We're so pleased to be joined by Janine Tesori, who wrote the music for Fun Home, Lisa Crone, who wrote the book and lyrics, and Alison Bechdel, whose novel Fun Home, based on her childhood and life and her relationship with her family, is the basis for this amazingly wonderful musical.
All right, so what was the attraction for you guys to Allison's novel to turn it into a musical? Was it your idea, Lisa?
Yes, I worked on it first. for a little while before Junian came into it.
Trying to write the music yourself back then?
Yes, yes. Interestingly, that didn't go very well. Knowledge of music
Everything
would have
sounded
helped.
like this.
I didn't see what was wrong with it, but then I was disabused of my fondness for it. So
Once I took the accordion out of your hands, we were.
That's right.
I thought about that. It's like, give me my
There was an
accordion.
Oompa Loompa song missing somewhere.
But I want to go back. I want to go back before you got to it, and I want to ask Allison to give us, a thumbnail description of what this story is about your life.
It's a memoir about my childhood with my father. It's about actually just a few months of my life when I was in college, when I came out as a lesbian, told my parents this great news, and found out that my father had been having secret affairs with men for a long time, which really blew me away.
You had no inkling at all.
No,
growing up.
no idea. Although looking back, I started putting it all together. His,
Big
obsession with antiques and
Jerry Herman soundtrack collection.
I say, let's rethink. We've got 2 days before we open. We do. Let's put it back.
Get that number in there. Get that back in there. Sorry, Allison.
that's okay, because this is part of the craziness of the whole thing. Because then the story takes this terribly tragic turn. My father, shortly after all these mutual revelations, killed himself, and so it was this terribly confusing time of my life. These few months when I was 19, and even then, or shortly after that, I could see that this was kind of an amazing story. That, my father and I were both gay, growing up in this little town. Our lives took very, very, very different courses. And I felt like I wanted to write about that, but I couldn't. Nobody knew my dad was gay. No one even knew he killed himself. He was hit by a truck. So these were big family secrets that I didn't think I could reveal. But 20 years later, when I was almost 40, I felt like, I think I can do this. I think it's not going to be so terrible for everyone.
And also in the 20 intervening years, you had become a very important cartoonist.
Well, I had become a cartoonist. I drew a comic strip for many years called Dykes to Watch Out For.
Dykes to watch out for.
Yeah. More importantly, though, I think there had been so much cultural change in those 20 years that it was possible to write this book.
What about the issues of other family members when you're reviewing the family secrets? Or if they're family members who you waited for them to die before you really came out and told things? Or how did they react to what you decided to talk about the family in the book?
My mother was not too keen on it, but she, I was very straightforward with her. I told her I was going to do it. I showed her and my brothers the drafts of the book, and they thought I was a little nuts. They didn't quite know why I would want to tell this story.
You dedicate the book in part to your mother. She's played by Judy Kuhn, a very important character in the musical, because you wonder how your mother endured what her part of the secret.
This is something that these guys did amazingly, was they fleshed out the character of my mother in a way that I didn't in the book. I knew my mother would read the book, so I tried to keep her character as minimal as possible.
What is the mother's song that gives such a tone to her character?
One of the things that we did with Helen is that Helen was a pianist, and so Helen's song has this sound. And she sings, days and days and days, that's how it happens. Days and days and days. So she lists all the ways that a lot of women in that time, it's made up of these bite-sized chunks where your days are filled with tasks and things that you do, and suddenly you look backwards and you think, where did it all go? When you look at it a page or a frame at a time, you can see, but not while you're in it.
Perhaps tasks filling up your days because you're looking away from something you don't want to know about? You fill your days up sort of with illusions in some way because it prevents you from confronting what's really going on in the family?
Maybe. Yeah, my mother certainly kept herself very busy. I mean, both my parents were maniacally busy with their various creative pursuits. And I love how the play captures that, too. My father restoring our house, my mother playing the piano, acting in summer stock. It was a very lively, creative household.
You have a wonderful image in the book that you say, our house was like an artist colony, and we were all in our different pursuits, isolated from each other, but completely creatively involved.
the book, it's a masterpiece. It's like we've been able to refer to it like the Bible. You know, every single time we've done a rewrite.
Quote by, you know, sometimes we're at that point where we're like, you know, on page 61 on that cell over there. It's like,
and it's a very interesting relationship between that book and what we've made.
What made you trust Lisa to have no trepidation about trusting your masterpiece? With
Well,
her?
I knew Lisa's work. I mean, we both come from the street, from the lesbian street.
You're going to picture the lesbian street, the hard
lesbian street. I don't know why I keep going.
Have you? It must be all new to you, Janine, the lesbian street.
Well, I have an announcement.
Anything for a Tony Award.
I'm engaged. Right, anything. Right.
So anyway, you were saying that you knew Lisa.
Well, yeah, I knew her work with the Five Lesbian Brothers. I didn't.
Oh, I love that.
Because I used to live in New York and I was around them, but I didn't know her autobiographical stuff that she went on to do well in 2.5 Minute Ride until we started working together. And then I read that and saw her work and loved her stuff even more. But because we came from the same place, I knew I could trust her with this lesbian material and to get it right.
Lisa has this great quote that people say, oh, it's a story that's bigger than a lesbian. She says it's actually the same size. This is a story about a father and a daughter.
Yeah.
And
well, but that's interesting too because we don't see a lot of musicals about fathers and daughters.
That's exactly. I mean, what you just said is so much of the core in the dramatic literature, in plays or musicals. Fathers and daughters are not examined. We thought of King Lear. There was one other that someone had said, and it's fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, but not fathers and daughters. And it's a very complicated, often complicated relationship that is. Mine was, yours was. You have this amazing relationship with your father, but you examined it in 2.5 Minute Ride to such a degree that I find that, well, that's the one other piece that I would say is a father-daughter.
Violet.
Violet, right.
What I haven't noticed is that people ask that question to say, well, I love the piece, will other people be nervous about it? Right. And there's that kind of an assumption. But I thought for us, there would be no question about it because there are probably more people who have personal relationships with lesbians than people who know the King of Denmark or the Prince of Denmark. You know what I mean? It's like all the time.
Two well-known lesbians.
Or the King of Siam. Right.
When we go to theater, we identify with people. You know, I'm not a salesman. But I can go see that play and identify with that person. That's what we do in the theater.
Your father is a magnificent performance by Michael Cerveris.
And it's harder when you're older to begin.
The thing I found myself wondering is, in this time where we all are aware of more of equality, would this man have suffered so and lived so if he had been living at a different time?
That's the whole story.
Yes, but then you wouldn't have been born if he...
I know.
He wouldn't have written the book if he'd been liberated and comfortable with himself.
Yeah, it's a weird, conflicted feeling I have. I mean, I love the play. I love celebrating it, but it's also, there would be no play if my father hadn't killed himself, you know? So there's this...
And there'd be no you if your father hadn't felt he had to get married and have a family, even though that wasn't what he wanted.
Right.
In his heart, yeah.
Well, that's where the drama exists.
That's where the drama exists.
When this came to you, were you thinking, ooh, like Annie, cash cow?
You know me.
I know. You're always going for those crass commercial shows all the time.
I would say this is the most important musical that I've ever written, ever. It brings everything that I feel like I've ever wanted to do in a piece. And
now, can you be more specific?
Yeah, I think it's a woman close to my age on stage, and that idea of that you're looking backward as much as you're looking forward, and trying to understand and grapple with what your parents gifted you with and what they burden you with, and that's universal. So I knew that it would be a musical as soon as I read the book because you could feel what there's a great heart and a great soul and a great intellect behind the book. I knew that it could sing because of the things that remained unexpressed. And between the incredible conflict, how it would do that was really a hard, it's just like all musicals are hard. This one was particularly hard because it doesn't fall into a formula. There's no, I don't like formulas anyway, but a lot of characters sing because they want something so badly. But how do you do that if you don't know what you want?
But
so you have your family. This is from The Who. they sing, he wants
the real feather duster used on the bookcase. Find all the books we read and carefully restore. He wants
the Hepplewhite sweet chair back in the parlor. You know, he wants. And they're like, what does he want?
Yeah.
We can feel it even though we're 7, we're 9, we're 10. We know that there's something, but you can tell at that age, I knew in my other father, what he wants is not what he has. And that incredible fear of a kid that you're not enough.
When you guys are sitting down to write the show, is there a moment when you find the musical voice of the show? I mean, can you give me an example? Maybe the first song you wrote where you said, that's the tone I want to set.
You know, really early on, because Lisa's done a lot of lyric work but hadn't written a musical. So the very first thing that we did is we sort of set up our own musical boot camp and wanted to locate that part of, you know, in that time, and the singer-songwriter quality of it. You know, the Ring of Keys has a singer-songwriter feel to it. The opening, which Lisa identified, you know, I just came up with it and we figured it out after the fact why it was important. And the very first thing we wrote, which was based on your script, was that, can you sing it? Because I can't.
This is your big break, Lisa.
finally. It's all paying off.
Here's
Right
a chord.
here. Get ready, people. Daddy, hey, Daddy, come here. Okay, I need you. What are you doing? I said, come here. You need to do what I tell you to do. Listen to me, Daddy. Hey, right here, right now, you're making me mad. Something like that.
Right. I wanna play airplane. I wanna play airplane.
I wanna play airplane.
I want to put my arms out and fly.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, that's the heart. That's going to be the heart of this piece with the desire.
I mean, a musical has to have one primal need, a primal drive that's straightforward and that pulls it from beginning to end. And of all the things that were complicated about this, I think we knew from the beginning that that desire of that child to make that, to get her father's attention, not just his mental attention, but to make physical contact with him, that she wants him to pick her up. She wants to be picked up by her father. That desire is the desire that the adult Allison doesn't know is her desire, but it is what pulls this from the beginning to end. And so we don't have an I want song, but in fact, the first line of the play is, Daddy, come here, I need you.
Right.
And she demands that he
That's the
pick her
locomotive.
up.
And she'd
then-
given you that in the book.
It's in.
That's-
I
yeah.
mean, you know, really, even though we made up so many things, you know, there are scenes and lines and all kinds of things that are not in the book. But that being said, everything comes from the book.
Allison, is there a particular song in Janine's score that is your favorite or touches you the most?
Janine and Lisa's score.
Sorry, Janine and Lisa's score.
They're all
We're getting
amazing.
the lyricist.
Janine's a giver.
They're
You know
all
me, so-
incredible songs, and I sing them to myself constantly. I won't sing now, don't worry.
Go
But I guess I would say Ring of Keys. Ring of Keys, the amazing Butch anthem.
Yes, how
My
you
favorite.
discover you see your first butch lesbian as a child, and
Yes, and that you have a child singing this in the play, which feels very brave.
how does that go?
Can you give us a fuller version of Ring of Keys? Feel free to join in, Allison.
Someone just came in the door. It's gonna be a little higher. No one I ever saw before. I don't know where you came from. I wish I did. I feel so dumb. I feel. I'm gonna have to drop down. Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys.
I know you. I know you. I know you.
Yeah.
Bravo. Now, before we go, I wanted to say we've neglected, I think, to mention that one of your father's jobs was he was the director of a funeral home, hence the name
Fun Home.
Fun Home.
That was what we called it.
And one of the great, great numbers is when you kids are playing in the fun home. You made up the conceit of the television commercial, though, for fun home.
Yes.
I was looking through the book to see if I'd missed
It took
that.
us a long time to figure that out, but we, obsessively did commercials. I mean, kids of that generation did commercials.
But this is a huge metaphor through your book of the funeral home. Can we get a little bit of the fun home commercial song? You could even join in on that one, Alice.
Oh, God.
Come on, Allison, you can do it.
Your uncle died, you're feeling low. You got to bury your mama, but you don't know where to go. Your papa needs his final rest. You got to give them the best. Come to the fun home, sing with me, Janine. That's the Bechtel Funeral Home, baby. The Bechtel Fun Home, next to Baker's Department Store in Beach Creek. Oh, it's high. Wow. I gotta have little. You gotta have little. We have this child who has crazy gifts.
Now you're never going to get her away from the piano. So,
I never
Play another one, Janine.
We're here till
We're here all night. You got a million of them.
All right, the
You have a million of
show is Fun Home, based on the excellent graphic novel by Alison Bechtel. These two are, I know they're confirmed theater geeks. Has this made you into a theater geek?
I'm becoming a theater geek, yes.
But there's still resistance, I detect.
Well, and it's just, there's a lot to catch up with.
As you can tell from this show.
All right, thank you very much for being our guest on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bravo.
Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys, oh, your ring of keys. I know you. I know you. I know
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, plus public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.